If you're sending newsletters in Mailchimp and then copying that same content into WordPress, stop. I'll show you how to automate this so that the moment you hit send in Mailchimp, it becomes a WordPress post automatically. Let's get started. So I built a better way using OttoKit. It's a no-code automation tool that connects your apps together with simple workflows. Before we go step by step, let me show you how this actually works. So I am in Mailchimp. I'm going to send out this email campaign like I normally would. And in OttoKit, in the history area, you can see the webhook fire, the content get fetched, cleaned, reformatted, and pushed to WordPress. And there it is. Right, let's get into the workflow details. First, we'll head into OttoKit and create a new workflow. For the trigger, we're going to be choosing webhooks. The event we're listening for is simple. Was an email campaign just sent? When that happens, everything else in the workflow fires. Copy the webhook URL that OttoKit generated. Then we're going to go over to Mailchimp, go to Audience Settings, open up Webhooks, and click Create Webhook. Paste the AutoKit webhook URL into the callback field, and for the events, we only need the campaign sending checked. And under Source, select via the API. Then we click the Create Webhook button. Back in AutoKit, we click Continue. Now we're going to need to verify that everything works, so we're going to send a quick test campaign to myself, and once it's sent, AutoKit will receive the data, and now we can save the trigger. With the webhook now in place, let's switch over to the completed workflow and walk through those action steps. So the first action step is a call to Mailchimp because the webhook tells us something was sent, but not what's inside it. So let's open up the Mailchimp action step here. We'll go to Select. And in our application, we're using Mailchimp. In our event, we're using Fetch Campaign. And you'll need to have an API connection between AutoKit and Mailchimp. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but it's very simple to do. Create an API in Mailchimp and then add it here into AutoKit to make that connection happen by clicking on Create New Connection. Under the Configuration tab, we're grabbing the campaign ID from the webhook, and we simply just do the @ symbol here. It will open up our dynamic content, and then we can select our campaign ID, which is right here. Okay? Simple enough. And if we go into our test, you'll see that we've gotten a long archive URL and the archive URL, which is exactly what we want. We also get a bunch of other stuff, but it's all linked to campaigns. So we just really need this URL right here. That's all we're looking for. I'll skip over that filter option and come back to that later on in the video. But let's get into the biggest problem, and that is fixing the email HTML. So in general, email HTML is full of tables, inline styles, and tracking data. If you dump that straight into WordPress, it's going to look awful. So this is where Gina AI comes in. I'm sure there's other services that you could use. So let's take a look at that. So in our selection, we're using an API request, and in our configuration, we're using the post method. We're connecting it to the endpoint in Gina, and we're using the long archive URL. Remember I said that was important to grab from our fetching the campaign data, because Gina is going to interpret that HTML from that long URL. So we're just dynamically adding that in by using the @ symbol. You'll need some authorization here, and that's easy to set up on Gina. And if I scroll down here, you'll see that I am using specific targets for just the body of the email. So I'm not taking the header, I'm not taking the footer, just the body. And I'm returning it in HTML format. So what Gina will do is it will strip out the email-only junk. Now that we've got just the body HTML, we can make it more blog ready by using OpenAI. So let's take a look at that. So I'm using ChatGPT latest, and again, you're going to need an API connection with your OpenAI account and AutoKit. But in the configuration, I'm giving it the role that you're an expert WordPress content editor. Your task is to take the raw HTML that Gina is providing us and making it into an email newsletter and convert it into clean semantic HTML suitable for WordPress blog posts. And my prompt is I'm pasting the raw HTML code of an email newsletter below. And I'm basically just giving OpenAI or ChatGPT here some structure of how I want it to interpret the raw HTML that has been given and putting it into nice WordPress-friendly HTML. And of course, the last step is publishing it to WordPress. And you'll need to have OttoKit connected to your WordPress account by installing the OttoKit plugin in the WordPress website that you're going to be using, such as I've done here with my website. And on the configuration tab, you can select posts here. I'm putting it as a draft, but if you're feeling confident, you can select published or maybe even scheduled if you so desire. You're going to need your author information in there. And then for the post title, I'm using the subject line that's coming in. In this demo, it said howdy, but obviously we saw, spring is coming, something like that. And then under optional fields, you'll see that we've got the taxonomy term. So we're using categories and then the category name. I'm leaving the post slug empty because it's going to be auto-generated with the title. And the featured image, that's another optional thing that you can do. Maybe using Gemini before the WordPress action step. You can put in a Gemini call to create something related to the content. That's up to you. And then for the content, we're adding in the generated HTML, the friendly WordPress version HTML that's coming in from ChatGPT, again, by using that @ symbol to bring in that output from the message content. And last but not least, the optional filter. If you send multiple types of campaigns, such as newsletters versus promotions versus announcements versus members versus whatever, you can add a conditional logic here to create a blog post based on the campaign name. So if we open up this filter here, I have it based on the campaign name. If it contains anything related to members or it contains MEM in the campaign name, not the subject title, but the campaign name, then proceed through the workflow. If not, don't create a blog post for it, because where I'm putting this in this example, in this demo, I'm putting this into a premium newsletter archive. So potentially for members who are getting a paid subscription newsletter, they want to have access to a place where they can go and look at past newsletters. That's why I'm setting this up like that. But again, that is optional. Now, every time you send an email campaign in Mailchimp, WordPress stays updated automatically. No more time-consuming workarounds. I've linked the exact AutoKit workflow in the description below if you want to use it yourself. Just click the link and the workflow will be added to your AutoKit account. Hey, if this was helpful, a like or subscribe really helps the channel. Drop a comment below if you've got questions or tell me what automation I should build next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.